The first warning was not an alarm, but a shadow. From the command deck of the Luna defense ring, Commander Aria Vance watched sunlight vanish as something massive eclipsed the horizon. A tremor rolled through the station's hull. A moment later, emergency sirens blared in overlapping tones, red, then violet, then a harsh double pulse she'd only ever heard in drills. "Commander, multiple warp ruptures," Lieutenant Harlow said, voice cracking. "Signatures match. Xyr Dominion vessels." That made no sense. The Xyr were allies, technically. Somewhere, someone must have made a mistake. But the void beyond the viewport made the truth impossible to deny. Ship after ship tore out of folded space, each one a spined leviathan of living metal. The entire front of the Dominion's Third Imperial Armada hovered over Earth like a carnivorous cloud. Then they opened fire. A single lance of white plasma speared down toward the Atlantic coast. A second ripped through the equatorial shield array. More followed, precise, coordinated, merciless. Aria felt her mouth go dry. "Connect me to Earth Command," she snapped. Static. Then a fractured voice, "This is Emergency Node Theta, Heavy Bombard, Command Grid, offline." The line died. An explosion slammed through the ring structure and hurled Aria into her console. Alarms drowned out everything. Smoke poured from shredded panels. Gravity flickered and returned with a groan. "Damage report," she shouted, forcing herself upright. "Decks 5 through 9 gone," Harlow answered, struggling to secure himself to a railing. "Shield relays failing. Internal fires spreading. Commander, the Dominion isn't just attacking. They're targeting our infrastructure. Every strike is calculated. A betrayal planned down to the millimeter." Another blast. The deck jolted violently. A viewing panel ruptured outward, sucking 2 crew members into the void before emergency shutters slammed shut. Aria grabbed the comm. "All personnel, evacuate to the lower hangars." "Move!" She didn't wait. She ran through smoke-filled corridors, boots ringing against metal that vibrated under distant detonations. Crew members rushed beside her, some wounded, some terrified, all moving because she was moving. Halfway to the hangars, the deck tilted sharply. Aria braced herself on a bulkhead. A hollow boom echoed through the station like a dying heartbeat. Harlow's voice crackled over her wrist. "Commander, we lost the western ring." It collapsed. Just sheared off. Aria closed her eyes for a second. "That ring housed 2,000 people." "Understood," she said quietly. "Prep remaining shuttles." When she reached Hangar C, chaos reigned, sparks rained from ruptured conduits, medics pulled bodies aside, pilots fought to stabilize thruster cores overheating from the bombardment. Aria climbed into the nearest shuttle, gripping the overhead handles as it broke free from the ring. The moment they cleared the debris field, she saw Earth. A glowing wound covered half the planet. Fires stretched across continents. 3 primary cities were already gone, replaced by expanding plumes of ash. Orbital platforms burned like dying embers drifting along the Terminator line. Harlow stared out the shuttle window. "Why would the Dominion turn on us?" Aria didn't answer. She couldn't, not yet. The shuttle descended toward an emergency fallback bunker hidden in the Appalachian Ranges. After landing, Aria marched straight into the tactical chamber where fragmented displays showed the extent of the devastation. Global casualty projections climbed by the second. Chief Strategist Navarro met her at the briefing table, face ashen. "Commander, you need to see this." He transferred a data packet to the central holo. "This transmission was intercepted 10 minutes ago." The holo flickered. Overlord Zarkith appeared, towering, armored, reptilian eyes glowing with pale fury. "Humanity has overreached," Zarkith declared. "Your unchecked expansion threatens the Dominion's rightful ascendancy. The compact's weakness allowed your kind to rise too far, too fast. Today, we correct that mistake." He paused, lips peeling back in a predatory sneer. "Earth will fall. Your species will kneel or be erased." The recording ended. No one spoke. Aria's throat tightened, not from fear, but from a cold, growing clarity. This wasn't a border dispute. Not a resource conflict. Not a misunderstanding. This was extermination. Navarro steadied himself on the table. The compact won't intervene. They've already issued neutrality statements. Neutrality, Aria repeated sharply. While Earth burns. The Dominion's threat forced their hand, Navarro said. They're terrified. Good, Aria said. They should be. She turned to the surviving officers. Their faces bore exhaustion, shock, smears of blood and ash. But their eyes, those were waiting. Ready to anchor themselves to something solid. She stepped forward. Listen to me, she said, voice low but steady. The Dominion thinks humanity will break. They think the loss of our cities and stations will shatter us. They think fear will freeze us. She scanned the room. They don't understand what we do when someone tries to wipe us out. Every face lifted toward her. We fight. We adapt. We tear our way out of the grave they dig for us. Her voice sharpened. If they want humanity dead, they'll have to face every last one of us. Navarro nodded, jaw tight. Aria pulled up a secondary display. Which assets do we still control? Only a fraction, Navarro said. Maybe 30% of the fleet. But we've still got the Iron Resolve and a few carriers hiding in the asteroid belts. And the room stiffened. Project Ares, Earth's forbidden warrior. A weapon so advanced it had been hidden from every alien power, including the Compact. It wasn't supposed to activate without unanimous approval from Earth Command. But Earth Command was gone. Aria approached the interface. Ares, can you hear me? There's one more thing. He tapped a secure, encrypted channel. For a moment, nothing. Then a deep, synthetic voice spoke, predicted? Navarro whispered. How? Later, Aria said. Ares, assess current enemy movement. A holographic fleet map materialized. The Dominion ships were regrouping around Earth's outer orbit, forming a new strike formation. Silence stabbed through the room. Aria inhaled slowly. Then we won't wait for it. She turned to her officers. Prep every operational ship. Repair what you can. Arm what you can't. We hit their siege line before they fire again. Harlow hesitated. Commander, that fleet outnumbers us 20-1. Then we'll have to be impossible to kill, Aria said. We don't need to win the whole war today. We just need to survive long enough to bleed them and break their formation. She stepped toward the tactical console, eyes burning with purpose. Humanity isn't done. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not ever. The bunker lights flickered as Ares synchronized with the surviving fleet. Engines roared across hidden hangars. Officers rushed out to prepare for the counterstrike. Aria remained for a heartbeat, staring at the burning planet on the screen. Then she whispered to herself. A promise, a vow, a spark of fury. They wanted a cornered species. She clenched her fist. The Iron Resolve drifted silently through the asteroid belt, its black hull streaked with makeshift repairs. Every panel, every scene bore the scars of Earth's first confrontation. Yet, for all its damage, it remained a symbol, humans refusing to bow to the Dominion's terror. Commander Aria Vance walked the deck with measured steps, each one echoing on the steel floor, her mind a hive of strategy and calculation. Commander, Lieutenant Harlow said, approaching, eyes narrowed at the tactical map flickering above the holotable. Our scanners picked up Dominion patrols ahead. They're scanning every jump point. We can't get through unnoticed. Aria studied the hologram. Lines of alien cruisers carved a web around Northka, the fortress world at the heart of the Dominion command network. Not unnoticed, she corrected, but we can exploit their arrogance. The Dominion believes humans predictable. We'll be the opposite. Harlow hesitated. We're outnumbered 20-1. And outnumbered 20-1 we will be lethal, Aria replied, voice calm, almost casual, but her eyes burned like a forge. We're not running a conventional war. We're hunting the spine of their empire. In the war room, Chief Engineer Solis leaned over the console. We've retrofitted the shuttle bay fighters with gravitic disruptors. They'll tear through shields if we get close enough. It's risky. One miscalculation in. Then we don't miscalculate, Aria interrupted. Prepare them anyway. We'll need every advantage. The human fleet moved like shadows through the belt. Sensors pinged constantly, highlighting asteroids and debris, but Dominion sensors never picked the fleet's true numbers. Ares had optimized their path, calculating microjumps between gravitational distortions, masking signatures with improvised interference. As they approached Northcaw's system, the first signs of Dominion cruelty became visible. From orbiting observation posts, Aria watched enslaved ships of other species, dragged in chains, their hulls scarred with Dominion glyphs, performing forced labor on orbital weapons platforms. Hunger and despair etched every hull. Leave them behind? Navarro asked quietly, arms crossed. Aria shook her head. No. We fight for humanity, yes. But injustice doesn't belong to one species. And they know more than we do about this system. Their information can save lives. We free them. The fleet engaged the orbital defenses. Grav pulses flared as retrofitted fighters tore through shield grids. Boarding teams were deployed on zero-gravity lines to neutralize gun platforms. Humanity's ferocities surprised the Dominion garrisons. Holographic displays tracked casualties and damage. Humans lost, yes, but Dominion ships burned faster than the engineers had predicted. A burst of static interrupted the operation. The communication panel flickered, and the cold, reptilian face of Overlord Zarkith appeared. Commander Vance, he said, his voice like ice grinding against steel. Your species' tenacity is noted, but futile. You trespass in the dragon's lair. Leave or be extinguished. Aria's jaw tightened. We don't trespass. We deliver consequences. And if you haven't noticed, your garrisons are falling. A thin smile crept across Zarkith's face. Consequences are amusing words for a species with no foresight. Soon, your world will be nothing but ash. Consider this mercy. He vanished. Navarro exhaled slowly. Every time he speaks, I feel like the air gets colder. Aria's eyes didn't leave the holomap. Then let's make him sweat. Prepare the boarding teams. We go in tonight. We cut the head off their operation. The plan was audacious. Aria divided the human fleet, half would engage orbital defenses to draw fire, half would infiltrate the core fortress where the quantum throne node controlled fleet coordination. Ares calculated a 60% chance of success. For humans, that was acceptable. The infiltration team entered stealth mode, slipping past Dominion patrols. Docking clamps latched onto the outer hull of the fortress. Zero-gravity ropes tethered Marines as they surged toward airlocks, weapons humming with newly modified grav pulses. The first doors were welded shut. With charges and careful timing, they breached them. Inside, the walls were cold and metallic, lined with corridors that smelled faintly of alien oil and antiseptic. Dominion drones patrolled silently, their optical sensors scanning for movement. Aria led the team personally, every step precise, every command concise. Team A, cover the hallways. Team B, sweep the junctions, she ordered. No hesitation. One shot, one kill, and keep moving. A patrol drone rounded the corner. A flash from a modified pulse carbine reduced it to molten slag. The Marines didn't pause. Hours passed in tension. The fortress was a labyrinth. Each turn, each junction revealed more about Dominion cruelty, cells filled with enslaved beings, storage bays of harvested planetary resources, weapons lined for deployment. Commander, whispered Lieutenant Harlow, voice tight, the throne node, it's bigger than we expected. It's connected to a weapon aimed at Earth. Aria's blood ran cold for a second, but only a second. How soon? 3 days. If fired, the entire planet, annihilation. A silence settled over the team, thick enough to choke on. Aria's voice cut through. Then we have 3 days. 3 days to make sure they never fire it. They pressed on, moving deeper. Finally, the central chamber appeared, the quantum throne node dominating the space, a lattice of glowing energy, massive, almost alive. A human heartbeat would have sounded tiny against it. And around it, Dominion engineers and guards moved with ritual precision. Aria crouched behind a console, whispering to the Marines. We hit it fast, coordinated. All points at once. Disable the operators. Collapse the lattice. Ares will guide us through the quantum locks. Minutes stretched, each one a knife against nerves. Then, Aria's comm chirped. Commander, multiple reinforcements approaching. 2 minutes. She nodded. Good. Means we won't be alone in history. Teams, positions. The first wave of Dominion soldiers arrived. Humans moved like shadows, graph pulses igniting in synchronized bursts. Marines leveraged zero-gravity to launch through corridors, turning walls into floors and ceilings. Dominion soldiers fell, their disciplined formations shattered. Aria reached the control core with Harlow and Navarro at her side. She input commands, Ares feeding real-time corrections to counter the lattice's defenses. Energy spikes danced along the grid. This is it, Harlow muttered. The point of no return. Then we make it count, Aria said. The first charge detonated in the peripheral conduits. Sparks, fire, and a deafening pulse reverberated through the chamber. Dominion engineers screamed, shields faltered. Outside, the orbital battle raged. Graph pulses tore through cruisers. Every human fighter was outnumbered, yet the precision and timing inflicted disproportionate damage. Aria's focus never wavered. She placed the final override sequence. A deep hum resonated from the throne node. The countdown to Earth's destruction began to stall, then falter. One final surge, one coordinated strike, and the lattice began collapsing. Sparks and energy arcs engulfed the room. Alarms screamed. Dominion officers shouted orders, but chaos had consumed them. Aria's eyes narrowed. Almost there. Hold. Don't blink. A final pulse of energy surged through the chamber. Lights flared, then vanished. The node went dark, inert. A hush fell. Outside, Ares reported, Dominion fleet coordination lost. System instability imminent. Aria exhaled, a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. We did it, she said. But her voice was grim. Harlow glanced at her. Not done yet. The battle outside, the reinforcements. Let them come, Aria interrupted. They've seen what happens when they underestimate humans. Tonight, they learned. Tomorrow, we finish. She turned to the Marines, to the freed species watching in awe. History is watching, and we're writing it. Move out. The fight isn't over. The fortress trembled around them, a dragon awakening to chaos. And humanity, cornered but unbroken, pressed forward into the storm. An instrument of strategy and survival. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, engaged Dominion reinforcements in orbit. Explosions rippled across the surface, but Aria's focus remained on the heart of the fortress, the quantum throne node and the weapon it controlled, aimed at Earth. Commander, Navarro's voice cut over the comm, strained. Orbital reinforcements are overwhelming. If we don't neutralize the node, the planet dies. Aria didn't respond immediately. Her eyes scanned the glowing lattice ahead, energy arcs flickering like lightning trapped in crystal. We're not just stopping them, she said finally. We're ending this now. All or nothing. That weapon doesn't fire while I live. Lieutenant Harlow glanced at her. Are you sure about this? Zarkith, he's not just a commander. He's... Everything he is a target, Aria interrupted, voice cold and precise. He underestimates us. That's our advantage. Every human aboard this fleet, every soldier in this fortress, we're exploiting that arrogance. They moved forward, Marine squads clearing corridors with synchronized efficiency. Grav pulses hissed, cutting through Dominion security drones. The smell of scorched metal mingled with the acrid tang of alien oil. Every corner brought new dangers, ambushes, traps, and elite Xyr soldiers, larger, faster, and more ruthless than anything humanity had faced before. Commander, Navarro warned, sensor sweep indicates Zarkith himself is approaching the node. He's aware of your presence. Aria's jaw tightened. Then we meet him before he can interfere. Prepare the flank teams. Minutes later, the chamber opened before them. The node pulsed like a living heart, arcs of quantum energy stretching toward the ceiling. Around it, the Dominion's elite guards and engineers scrambled, recalibrating systems to compensate for the sabotage efforts Aria's forces had already initiated. And at the center, clad in ceremonial armor, stood Overlord Zarkith. Vance, he hissed, his reptilian features twisting in a contemptuous snarl. You dare come into the heart of my empire. Humanity burns, and yet you walk unscathed. Foolish. Aria stepped forward, eyes locked on him. Not foolish. Determined. You thought fear would stop us. It didn't. And now, you're about to see what cornered humans can do. Zarkith advanced, blade ignited with plasma energy. His gait was confident, predatory. Aria drew her own weapon, a Grafpulse blade, humming with lethal precision. Step closer, and I'll make sure this ends tonight. The chamber erupted into chaos. Marines and freed species engaged Dominion guards in swift, brutal combat. Energy arcs, grav pulses, and plasma blades clashed in flashes of deadly light. Sparks flew, metal bent, and the air vibrated with the sound of war. Aria faced Zarkith alone, their blades locking. His strength and speed were formidable, but her timing and ingenuity compensated for raw power. Every strike she delivered forced him back, every parry she made exposed openings in his defense. You humans, Zarkith growled, voice laced with fury, burn too brightly. Too arrogantly. Then choke on the flames, Aria retorted, spinning her blade to deflect a strike aimed at her side. Behind them, Harlow coordinated the disruption of the node's lattice. Commander, shields dropping, core destabilizing. Good, she said through gritted teeth, pressing Zarkith back. Keep it steady, don't overextend. Timing is everything. The node trembled as the final sequences activated. Energy arcs snapped, twisting the chamber's metal structures, while Dominion engineers scrambled to prevent a meltdown. Harlow's team executed precise charges along the lattice's support pylons, calculated by Ares to destabilize the node without triggering an early detonation. Zarkith roared in frustration as the chamber quaked. You think you can destroy what sustains an empire? Aria didn't respond. She feinted left, then struck right, forcing him backward into a conduit. Sparks flew as his blade met the wall, leaving scorched grooves. A final, forceful push sent him sprawling to the ground. Now, she barked. Harlow detonated the final charges. The node convulsed, arcs of energy collapsing inward. A resonance shook the entire fortress. Lights flickered, then died. Silence, heavy and absolute, followed. Over the comm, Ares spoke with clipped efficiency, Dominion fleet coordination lost. System collapse imminent. Orbital defenses neutralized. Outside, the human fleet capitalized on the chaos. Outnumbered ships struck with surgical precision, crippling Xyr cruisers before they could reorganize. The orbital battlefield became a tableau of human audacity, each maneuver calculated, each strike decisive. Humanity, small but ferocious, tore through the Dominion's dominance. Aria turned to Zarkith, still struggling to rise. She advanced, grav blade pointed at his chest. Your empire survives because you ruled with fear. You fail to understand us, humans don't just survive fear. We weaponize it. Zarkith hissed, struggling to speak. You will burn. Aria shook her head. No. You will. The galaxy will remember this night, not because of your cruelty, but because humanity refused to die quietly. She struck with precision. The plasma ignited, collapsing the final vestiges of his armor. Zarkith slumped, defeated. The remaining Dominion forces, leaderless and disoriented, surrendered or fled. Freed species rallied with humanity, seizing ships and resources once held against them. The galaxy itself seemed to pause, absorbing the shockwave of the human resurgence. Aria activated the comms. All units, report status. Voices came in, damaged, ragged, but alive. Ships intact, freed populations accounted for. The survivors' gratitude was quiet but resolute. Navarro approached, wiping sweat and grime from his brow. "It's over." Aria shook her head slightly. "Not over. But tonight, we showed them what cornered humanity can do. Earth may be wounded, but humanity is awake. And the galaxy knows it now." Harlow, looking out at the battlefield, added quietly, "We've survived, and they'll never forget it." Aria's gaze drifted to the stars, streaked with fire and smoke from the collapsing Dominion fleet. "No," she said softly, voice heavy with both exhaustion and triumph, "they'll never forget what it means to face us. Not ever." She turned to the team, her face illuminated by flickering energy. "This is only the beginning. Humanity has reclaimed its dignity. And we're not stopping here." A deep hum resonated through the fortress, the remnants of the node collapsing into inert silence. Aria's chest rose and fell with controlled breaths. Behind her, crews worked tirelessly, rescuing prisoners, stabilizing ships, salvaging technology. Humanity was battered, but it had emerged stronger, smarter, unbroken. Aria walked to the central viewport, staring at the distant Earth. Cities in ruins, continents scarred, billions lost, but alive. Survivors moving forward. Humanity would rebuild, strike back harder, and claim its place among the stars. She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "They wanted to erase us. Instead, we became the storm that even gods would remember." The stars outside glimmered, indifferent and eternal. Yet for the first time, a small planet burned not with fear, but with defiance, and the galaxy knew, humanity had awakened. Earth hung in the void like a wounded jewel, scarred and battered, its atmosphere a patchwork of smoke and fire. From orbit, Commander Aria Vance watched the surface with unflinching eyes, her jaw set. The Dominion's remnants were scattered, broken, but danger still lingered in the black between the stars. Humanity had survived the impossible, but survival was only the first step. "Commander, status report," Lieutenant Harlow said, voice tense as he monitored the fleet's communications and sensors aboard the Iron Resolve. "The throne node is inert," Aria replied, her gaze fixed on the planet below. "Dominion command is fractured. Our scouts confirm their leaders are scattered. But we can't assume they're finished. There are still isolated fleets, supply chains, and enclaves hiding in remote systems. They'll strike where we're weakest if we give them the chance." Navarro, standing behind her, nodded grimly. "We've bought time. But it's short. We need a strategy to consolidate our gains and secure Earth before the Dominion attempts any countermeasures." Aria turned from the viewport, her mind already working through the possibilities. "We rebuild not just for defense, but for projection. The galaxy will remember betrayal as a warning, not a mistake. We show that humanity, even wounded, can control its own destiny." Harlow hesitated. "Projection? Against what? Most of our infrastructure is destroyed, billions dead. We barely have enough ships to patrol the solar system, let alone project power beyond it." Aria's eyes narrowed. "Exactly. And that's why we start small, but precise. Salvage every operational vessel. Recruit every surviving scientist, engineer, and pilot. Ares will coordinate operations and ensure efficiency. Every system we stabilize, every outpost we secure, strengthens us. This is not rebuilding, it's evolution." The fleet moved with renewed purpose. Repair crews boarded derelict ships, retrofitting gravic engines and augmenting weapon systems. Scientists and engineers coordinated with Ares to reverse engineer Dominion technology, converting weapons of mass destruction into shields and propulsion systems for Earth's survivors. "Commander," Navarro said, interrupting her thoughts. "We've received transmissions from liberated species. They want to align with humanity against remaining Dominion forces. This could shift the balance in our favor." Aria allowed a brief smile. "Every ally counts. Humans aren't alone in this fight. But we lead, not just by numbers, but by example. The galaxy must know what it means to stand with humanity, strength, resolve, and relentless defiance." Weeks passed in a blur of activity. Earth's orbital defenses were restored, asteroids were converted into forward stations, and communications networks patched together. Humanity's presence in space grew, small at first, but unmistakably resilient. Every liberated convoy, every repaired ship, every freed world became a symbol. The Dominion had underestimated human adaptability and ingenuity. One day, while reviewing tactical updates in the Iron Resolve's command deck, Aria received an urgent transmission. Her eyes scanned the message. A Dominion fleet was regrouping near the frontier system of Erythra, preparing for a counterattack. "They're bold," Harlow said, voice tight. "Or desperate." "Both," Aria replied, her fingers tracing the ship's rail. "We need to show them the cost of underestimating humanity again, but smarter this time. We don't rush blindly. We strike with precision and authority." She convened a war council in the ship's tactical chamber. Officers, pilots, and Ares analysts crowded around holographic displays, each frame showing Dominion ships, asteroid positions, and gravitational anomalies. "Here's the plan," Aria began. "We lure their fleet into the Corvo's rift. The gravitational distortions will limit their maneuvers. Our smaller ships, retrofitted with gravic disruptors, will have an advantage in speed and agility. Boarding teams will disable key vessels. We don't need to destroy their entire fleet, we need to fracture it, demoralize them, make them second-guess every action against us." Navarro raised a hand. "Commander, casualties will be high. The Dominion knows every trick we've learned, they'll anticipate ambushes." Aria's expression hardened. "We don't fight for convenience, Navarro. We fight for survival, for the lives of billions, and for every world that trusts us. Every decision carries risk. But hesitation is the true killer." The fleet launched. Humanity's ships moved with purpose, coordinated with Ares guiding maneuvers in real time. As they entered the Corvo's rift, Dominion sensors faltered under the chaotic gravitational fields. Human pilots, trained in improvisation and instinct, exploited the advantage. Grav pulses tore through hulls, and boarding teams neutralized command centers with unprecedented speed. Amid the battle, Aria stood on the bridge, eyes flicking between holomaps and live feeds. "Harlow, keep comms clear. Navarro, monitor shield stability. We hold this line until every Dominion vessel in the rift is neutralized or captured." Hours stretched. Explosions painted the void in white and orange flashes. Dominion ships tried to regroup, but human ingenuity and aggression dismantled their formations. The surviving Dominion forces, leaderless and demoralized, fled deeper into uncharted systems, leaving behind their wounded and captured. After the final skirmish, silence fell over the battlefield. Smoke and debris drifted in the void. Humanity had struck decisively, again proving the unexpected lethality of a cornered species. "Commander," Harlow said softly, eyes on the after-action readouts. "We've won. They won't attempt another attack for months, maybe years." Aria turned toward him, gaze firm but distant. "Victory is temporary. Survival is eternal. We've bought time. Now we consolidate, rebuild, and prepare. The Dominion learned that humanity cannot be destroyed easily, but the galaxy is vast. There are more threats, more challenges. We stay vigilant, or we die unprepared." Navarro stepped forward. "You think the Compact will intervene next?" Aria shook her head. "Not unless they fear us more than the Dominion. And if we're wise, we ensure that fear exists, quietly, efficiently, without unnecessary cruelty." Humanity doesn't need the galaxy's approval. We only need survival, strength, and resolve. Below, Earth's surface began to show faint signs of recovery. Small settlements, freed of Dominion occupation, were rebuilding. Human ingenuity and determination infused every action: farms, water reclamation, orbital repair stations. Every victory, however small, mattered. Every life preserved was a defiance, a message to the cosmos. Aria walked to the central viewport once more. The stars stretched endlessly, indifferent, yet humanity's presence marked the void like a flare. Billions were gone, countless cities destroyed, yet the species endured, hardened, wiser, relentless. She whispered, barely audible, to the expanse before her, Earth may be scarred, but humanity is awake. We will rise, and no one will ever mistake our resilience for weakness again. Harlow approached quietly. And the Dominion? They'll rebuild, Aria admitted, voice steady. But so will we. Only differently, better, smarter, united. And next time, we dictate the terms. Not them. Navarro nodded. Humanity has proven dangerous when cornered. The galaxy will learn that lesson. Eventually. Aria's eyes softened slightly, but the steel remained. Eventually isn't soon enough. We ensure it's immediate. Every liberated system, every rebuilt fleet, every survivor trained, every ally aligned, it all sends the same message: humanity endures. And we strike back when it counts. For the first time since the Dominion attack, she allowed herself a moment of stillness. Behind her, the hum of Ares, the chatter of the crew, and the distant glimmer of repaired starships painted a picture of resilience. Humanity had risen from the ashes, scarred but unbroken. Aria turned to face her officers. We begin the next phase. Secure Earth, stabilize the frontiers, and ensure no one forgets this lesson. Humanity is not to be trifled with. The room fell silent in agreement. Outside, stars waited, infinite and indifferent, but humanity, cornered yet unbowed, was no longer merely surviving. It was awakening. And Commander Aria Vance, standing at the center of it all, knew one thing with absolute certainty: humanity's fury, forged in betrayal and loss, had only just begun.